And hello, guys. Welcome to Off the Cuff Paranormal with myself, Daryl, and this guy over here.
Could you hear? Could you hear me?
That's actually
In case
really
anyone couldn't
good.
hear me, I wrote.
I love the whiteboard. That's awesome. That's awesome. Folks, tonight Mike is having a few internet glitches around his place. So if you see him where he's doing a really good impersonation of those old bad Chinese movies where, like they talk, but the lips don't move, that will happen many, many times, I think. Hopefully it'll work itself out. But that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. Welcome, Amy. Glad you're watching the show. And whoever is on board, yeah, you're welcome to say hi anytime. Now, tonight's show had it started off with kind of a single idea, didn't it, Mike?
Well, yeah. I mean, you you kind of came to me with this one, but it's something that we've all kind of been talking about on Facebook a little bit.
Well, we had twofold. We had one that we were going to talk about our equipment, some of the equipment. And this was based off of a show that I actually recently watched, and so did you. That show was called Haunted Discoveries. What do you think of that show anyway right now?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Kay for recommending it because she was. I'll do the. Because she was the first one really to come across it. I think I had never heard of it before, and she's like, it's a new episode. It was a few weeks back now, and she's like, you might want to check it out. She goes, it's a little bit different than your typical paranormal TV show. So naturally, I'm like, okay, well, to me, they're all the same. So I was like, okay, let me check it out. And needless to say, after the first episode, I set my PVR to record all 4 episodes.
So do I.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a very unique approach about how they do things. I mean, now I can't say I agree with everything. Hello, Karen. Welcome aboard. I can't say I agree with everything that they do or that they say either works or doesn't work or whatnot like that. And the last show kind of had me kind of a little bit on edge because, of course, they were touching on something that, both me and Kay own and use. Now, before we get into this, folks, I just want to let you know that a little bit later in the show, we're going to touch on another subject that came up, and it came up because of a post somebody did. I mean, I don't know if she wants me or he, she, it, whatever, want me to mention their names along with this post. If they do, they can give me a thumbs up. And I'll bring up all that a little bit later because it's going to have us switch a little bit from what we kind of normally do to something that's a little, well, different, but really is important to a lot of people in the field today. So we'll go back to the show I'm talking about. The show I was talking about, Mike, at least the one show I was talking about on Haunted Discoveries was they were talking about the use of various pieces of equipment. And one of them was the EDI, right? Now, I didn't bring my EDI out, but most of the people in the paranormal field know what an EDI is by now. If they haven't got one, they probably have seen it online or whatever. And it does vibration, it does EMF, it does humidity, temperature, high, low. It catalogs all that so you can actually read it, which me and Kay just discovered recently because of the fella at Haunted Discoveries. Thank him very much. Alvis, I do believe his name is. He was really good because he came across and told us how to do it on Excel. And not only does it not just show points, high points and low points, it actually shows the temperature, time, temperature, everything right across the board. It's fantastic. that is done, and I think it's great. And yet they were doing something with that EDI during that show that I've never done. Do you know what that was, Mike? You saw the show.
Uh, what are you referencing? Like, is I mean, I've been watching a few episodes now, and they've been using it kind of like what we would use other equipment for. Like, they walk around with it in their hands, which is, to me, it's a little bit unusual because we like to just leave it stationary, whereas they take it around with them.
And that is exactly what I was nailed on. And actually, Kay just said Brandon Elvis. So for those guys that want to check out Haunted Discoveries, I believe Kay it's on Teeny, but it's Brandon Elvis. Fantastic individual to talk to. He's very good. I mean, yeah, it was great. So he was walking around with it, and that just basically grabbed me, and like it was like, you know. But by talking to Kay, I did find out later that they don't use all the options on the EDI when they walk around with it, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know
they
that.
don't really explain that, right? So
No, and it's actually Kay just said right after our show tonight at 9 o'clock, T&E,
yeah,
they're on.
well, I think it's six Eastern, 9 Pacific. Because
Well, it's on. I know it's on. Well, yeah, but I know it's on twice because I've actually watched it at 6 and at 9. But they said that they basically they shut off the vibration. They shut off the.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, they shut off the. They don't now. I don't think he said he shuts off the temperature or the humidity.
No.
Maybe it's the temperature, but not the humidity. He leaves one on the other because some things can be affected by the human temperature. But if you know what your temperature is, and it's only going to fluctuate a little bit, unless you're doing a marathon, you should still be able to get. Pardon me? Or that. But at least they know there's not going to be, like, if there's a major change, they're going to see it. And they can account for that. But so by shutting off, I mean, and I have to agree with them now. I mean, I've never really attempted to walk around with the EDI, but I think it's a very powerful machine. And if you're going to get the most out of it, I don't see why you can't, as long as you negate certain times. And that's where you have to really tag your time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he said. Is tagging, is getting that start and stop on on your recorder or recorders or video camera, or at least if it's on like the person's recorder that has it and the person's recorder and the person that's holding it or had placed it. As long as they match up, you can match almost anything up with it. But it's a good thing you really have to match those times up. Now you recently bought something, didn't you?
I did. So they have a different sort of little device that they use, and I believe it's called a Kestrel. The Kestrel is a weather tool, basically. The Kestrel it measures air temperature. It also measures humidity, and it measures air pressure. Now, the Kestrel, if you're interested in one, is a few $100s. Now, I didn't really want to venture out and spend a few $100s on this thing, but I got something very close, and it's actually referred to as a hygrometer. And for those that are in the Okanagan or anywhere that has a winery, they probably own one of these devices because they use it to measure the humidity and temperature in their cellars. So I got a hygrometer, and it's just I haven't actually tested it out yet. I'm going to this weekend, but it's just a small little thing that connects Bluetooth, and it will measure the temperature and the humidity, and it records it onto the device, well, my phone, and it can be exported into an Excel file, just like the EDI. And it was only $20.
No, there is something I do have to ask. You froze like,
yeah.
I do have to ask though. I think you mentioned it earlier. You said it connects to your phone. Now it connects through Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Bluetooth.
Okay, so it really, it shouldn't interfere with a lot of other things, should it?
It shouldn't. No. No.
Okay.
Now,
Would be some.
that's what I'm going to test out. Like these are the things that
Yeah.
I want to try first. Like, does it? I want to know if it's going to like store the information on the device itself, and then I can kind of export it to my phone because
Yeah.
that's where the problem lies. Like obviously, when we're investigating, we want to have our phones in airplane mode, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you put it in airplane mode, you can still use Bluetooth. So
That's true.
there's still that ability, right? I don't know if Bluetooth is going to affect an EMF. So I'm going to
Oh, wow.
exit.
Wow. Sorry, you'll have to repeat that. Your sound went just for a shit show there, Mike.
Okay, I said I'm going to test it to see if Bluetooth interferes with EMF.
Thank you. And now, I understand that I have to do some testing because I myself recently bought a couple of other devices that I haven't had a chance to use. So my first attempt to actually use these is going to be this upcoming next Saturday. First chance to use yours is going to be upcoming next Saturday. And I can tell everybody out there that we actually are going to be in a morgue. Woo! Now that being said, I know this really sounds weird, but I bought a baby monitor. Well, that's it. I'm gonna catch my. Where are you gonna put me in there? Go
I don't want to go in there. You can't make me go in there. That'll be Amy when she gets her flashlight tugged again. Get me out of here!
Waiting for her comment to come up. But this one is very similar to yours. It doesn't create a Wi-Fi signal. It connects via Bluetooth, okay, to its home base. But what I love about this is that if we're doing and attempting to do some of the things we have done in the past, including the SDA's method, it comes really handy because it creates its own signal back and forth. Now we can negate Wi-Fi stuff at that time if there's any interference. You can remove those things by saying, okay, this is currently operational. But the baby monitor itself was a couple $100, 250, 260 or something like that. But it has two cameras that actually from the main thing you can actually pan and tilt up, down, forward, back, in and out, all that kind of stuff. It works, has night vision, works really well. Perfect dark, it sees perfectly in the dark. After all, it's supposed to be watching your baby. It's got a certain distance, yes, but for a room, it's usually pretty good, and you can pan back and forth and see the room. Plus, it allows you to communicate directly through the camera to whoever's on the other end, which is kind of nice, and you hear it very clearly. So that's really cool. So I look forward to using this device. Now, I think part of the show, we wanted to say that some of the places that we use devices now and used devices when we first started out definitely has changed, hasn't it, Mike?
Oh yeah, I mean it's ever evolving, but at the same time, we're very much creatures of habit.
That is very true. That is very true. I mean, the EDI, for instance, I used to put it like right next to the recorder. I used to put it, somewhere down the end of the hall where you're kind of looking at it, but you're going, really, what just flashed? What didn't flash? I mean, now I'm actually learning that it should be within a visual range of an understandable visual range. And I mean, that goes with any equipment you really use. I mean, it's one thing to stick a K2 down the end of the hall, which we often do, but it's visual, it's only lights, right? And with Mike's K2, you could stick it at the end of a 300-foot hallway, you're going to see it.
Oh my God. You could have it on the other end of a football field, you'd still see it.
That is very true. That is very true. But I think for everything else, I mean, you really should have, especially the digital reading stuff, have it within a visual understanding of what is being read on it. I mean, a lot of people place like the millimeter, for instance. They'll
Yeah.
sit in a circle, they'll place a millimeter in the middle of the circle, but how many people in that circle can actually see and read the digital readout 100%?
One.
If that, because a lot of times it's 8 feet, it's 8 feet away from you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, yeah, because it's usually like, what, Mike, what is it reading? And then I have to go up to like, 17 degrees, Daryl.
you got it. Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that, and this is something that MPI and our sister team Faculty Acts, we especially MPI side, we really want to start doing this a lot more. Is really watch what we're doing. I mean, we fell into the same routine a lot of groups do. They get their information from when they began, from other sources, other people, other stuff like that, and they just progress, and they learn a little bit more and they adapt other things and they go on and on and on and on. But
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of years to kind of find your own niche, and then suddenly something like Haunted Discoveries comes on, and it opens your eyes to a whole new method, a whole new idea, a whole new concept. And I like that concept. And I think for teams, I think teams have to really be willing to look at these concepts and work toward using them, or at least trying them, and even bettering them maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Experiment, right? Because we don't know what's actually working, what's not working, right? Like, we just assume that when a device starts going off that's doing what it's supposed to be doing, we go, wow, that's really cool. But there's other ways that we could try to be making connection, right? Like, I know Kate just mentioned on here, I did suggest to her buy a strip of LED lights, like the kind that you would put, like, the kind that you put like around the room or whatever behind your TV, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But they're motion activated. Something. Try something a little bit different. See there, yeah, there it is. Yeah, yeah. So that's something I kind of was thinking about. Like, how can we come up with a way where if there's something that kind of moves across a hallway, and maybe if it casts a shadow, if it is seen somewhere, and you could have that laid out in a hallway like 10, 15 feet away from you, and it just passes over that and it sets it off. So I just thought, that'd be a fun way to try to see if that works. Maybe it won't work, who knows? But I think you gotta have to be experimenting and trying new things, and don't be afraid of failure.
Yes, I agree with that 100%, because there's been times I've come home, we've tried something and looked and went, well, that didn't work, did it? Or we're giggling so bloody hard through everything. I mean, you're just like, oh, that one's a write off. I mean, it happens
Exactly.
all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's things like you try it once and you're like, yeah, that didn't work. But then maybe you can circle back to some things too, right? Like, you can tweak it and go, "Oh, maybe if we tried this instead." Nothing's coming to mind right now, of course, but go back and try to find things that you thought were completely useless. You never know; you
well,
might be surprised.
that's true. That's true. And I mean, I can point out one. I mean, everybody a long time ago, they used to carry their cameras around like this, right? They
Uh-huh.
used to be watching, and somebody'd go, you'd hear this bang, click, a noise, a word, something, and you'd go, "What was that?" Oh, so your camera's like 3 seconds behind you, type of thing, and you're already too late. I mean, and that's a really hard habit to
You must need
break.
a head-mounted camera.
Well, and that was like that's why a lot of teams actually started using that GoPro, right? But the GoPro is only
Yeah,
good to a certain point. Now, we use
yeah,
cameras that I still run into that problem when I do it. So I try to get in the habit of, if I'm walking with it, I'll try to put my arm like this. So if I do turn, I try to keep it, as
yeah,
best. So always try, like when you're using your cameras, always try, video cameras especially, always try to move them in unison with your head, because you're going to see something out of the corner of your eye. You want that camera to be pointing in the direction that you saw that. That way you can go, I
yeah.
saw something in the corner of my eye, and the camera's going to go, no, you didn't.
It's also
But
easier said than done.
it is. Now, years ago, I was trying to use tripods and other things on the cameras, handheld, and our tech manager, Mike, came up with, not you, Mike, but our other Mike, came up with, we have two mics, guys, Mike and Mike. Big Mike came up with the monopod for us. And that was great. But then we discovered that the monopod has a point on the bottom of it, and that definitely causes some creaks and scratches and vibrations all the way up to the camera, which is like, oh, look at that. Oh, it's over here. Oh, shoot. Right? So you're getting vibrations right up the camera. You don't even realize it, but they're there. Then it has the rubber foot. So you put the rubber foot on, you screw the rubber foot down, but then you get the sticker of the rubber foot. So you have to like, well, what do we do? What don't we do? And we decided to try to put it, he decided to try to put a tennis ball on it, which worked to a point, but it just, it progressed and progressed. So you know what? We ended up going back to the original monopod on the rubber foot. But when we pick up the turn, we always pick the camera up slightly off the ground to rotate it. Or some people have put it actually on their foot and rotated it. So you don't get as much noise vibration of the rubber grabbing a solid floor. It all depends on where you're using it, how you're using it. Exactly. But be aware that those vibrations can come right up the monopod. You're going to hear something going, what the heck was that? And all it was vibration on the monopod. That's it. You didn't even feel it with your hand, but it sure goes right up to the mic and you're done, right? Another one that we found out affected both the mics, especially on, I just happen to have it right here. Any guesses what really affects the sound on this mic?
Well, everything, because those things pick up every little sound. Oh, when you blow it kisses.
Blowing kisses at the mic. There you go. Air actually passing by the mics. And, you know, it's funny. We were in a place, we didn't even know there was air there. Like we knew like we were breathing it, of course, but you don't realize that there was a unit way off to the side that was pushing air across the seats that you couldn't even feel. But the air coming across the mics, I mean, we were listening going, hey, can you tell us your name and blah, 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 blah. And when you listen back, it's like, hey, it's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, to be fair, though, those particular ones pick up the littlest sounds possible. I mean, there's so many different kinds of voice recorders out there. Like even the one I have is your, run-of-the-mill Sony voice recorder, digital voice recorder, but it actually has a function called noise cut on it. So you could actually cut the sound of the wind out.
But does that affect anything else?
Exactly. So that's why I never turned that on.
But there is a thing you do get with a lot of these things, and it looks like a little foam cover. Some of them have fur on them, but they're a little foam cover. Yeah. Or you can just take foam and put it around your mic. I mean, a light foam, that usually is enough to stop the wind, but not stop the sound coming to the mic. But if you don't have to do it, of course, don't do it. What other equipment have we got, Mike, before we step into this other whole subject here?
So this is a fun one. I don't know if we've even touched on this, but this is one that we tried on an investigation. It was using a fluorescent light bulb. Do you remember this?
I do. I do. We had a lot of fun with that fluorescent light bulb.
We did. It involves a fluorescent light bulb, a plastic tube to place the light bulb in, but you're not connecting the light bulb to anything. But the key to it is you also need to have a plasma ball. And you have to put them close to each other. And basically what you want to do is you want to ask the spirits to touch the plasma ball and use the energy from the plasma ball. And when you do that, when you touch it and activate it, the little, sparklies, the light bulb will actually turn on because it's charging the air. And
not only that though, when we touched the light bulb,
yes,
the light bulb got brighter.
Yes.
Because we were acting as a conduit from the energy coming from the plasma ball.
Yeah. So in a way, it's almost like, how do I want to put it? It's like using science. We're using science for a pseudoscience.
But we did notice that the light bulb, you had to be close enough for that action to take place. So the light bulb was always partially flickering,
It was.
right?
So you were basically, you wanted it to make the light bulb go constant bright, right? Not
Yes.
just flickering. So
Yeah.
that was, and no, we didn't have anything happen that particular night, but just because we didn't have anything happen doesn't mean we can't try it again.
Oh,
That's that's
absolutely.
that's where I'm going with all this, is like, just because it failed once, you don't just throw it in the garbage and go, well, that was dumb. No, let's try it again, and then again, and then again.
Yeah. And if you
Because
don't get any results after about the 12th time, then you can go, I think we've run this its course. I mean, but
exactly, because I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
well, we
Some
do
people
that
think we're
though.
insane for
Oh,
doing
wait a
this.
minute. Oh man. We're done. We're done.
Yeah.
So that is a good one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Kay was also talking. I know the light strip thing again. Kay was talking about the ones they use on TV. So the ones that they use on Haunted Discoveries are not actually motion activated ones. Those ones are actually EMF. So I did look those ones up, and they are about $200, as Kay mentions. But it's almost like, how do you put it? It's almost like a REM pod, if you will, but in a light, like a string of lights.
Well, actually,
And they use that on that show.
it's kind of funny because Mike Burns has some square little. I don't even know if you've seen them, Mike. They're square little black boxes. They have a little
Yeah.
wire sticking up and an LED, and
Yeah.
they're static. They go off in static, and he can place those, and we've seen those go off. Now, mind you, a breeze air conditioning unit sending air across them will create static electricity and can light them up. But it's a very same thing that if you place them down the hall and they went up in order and there's no airflow, you have to go, So he actually mentioned earlier that he wants to get back into using those again. And I think that's another thing I think would be really interesting to try again as well, is to use those kind of things, because we haven't used them in so long. We just kind of went, well, yeah, they kind of work, they kind of don't. We went off on a,
Yeah.
but we really didn't do our due diligence on them. So it'd be a great idea to try them all over again and see how they work too. But again, guys, be very adamantly aware of where you place your equipment.
God, yes.
And I gotta do one more thing here, and this brings us back to that.
Yeah.
When you're using recorders, doesn't matter whether it's this one or a little one or monster that you have to stand on 4 legs to use. Doesn't matter what it is, right? If you're in a location that has corners, like a house has corners, you get one person that puts a recorder up here, you get another person that puts a recorder over here, but there's a corner. You get another person that puts a recorder over there, but it's around a corner and around a bend. Don't do that. Just don't. Unless you are looking for something that's would be classified as a Class A EVP, undeniable. And the reason why we did this at a location out up in, I can't say where the rocking chair was, and I have my recorder around the corner on something. Mike had his recorder up farther, and I caught stuff I could have sworn was an EVP. I thought it said what it said, and it doesn't. When you go back to the camera that was in line with them both, you found out it was Mike. So I went and literally had 7 things that I just went garbage, 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 and threw them all out. I was convinced.
Yeah.
But keep your recorders in a physical line with each other. It will save you immensely in the long run as to whether somebody said something or somebody didn't. Don't hide them around the corner from each other.
No.
Okay. Piece of advice.
The only time I could say that you could do something sort of like that is if you we had a voice recorder once. It was set up probably about 30 feet away, not really around a corner per se, but it was 30 feet away. And there was a loud voice caught on that voice recorder and not on the other voice recorders that were kind of in sight, but not really. But the fact that it said someone's name into that voice recorder, that was pretty cool. But it doesn't happen very often. Like you said, it has to be class A, right? Like it has to
Well,
be pretty. It was class A.
and that was class A, and
Yeah.
that's what we mean. Yeah, exactly, Mike.
That's,
That I can understand, right? If you're going to place the recorder somewhere, you better be willing to write off 99.99% of it, unless it's a class A event. All right, and even then, you got to really question it. All right.
Yeah.
So that brings us to about a 32-minute mark, Mike.
Yeah, I got one more. I got one more.
Just a minute. I got to hit my recorder. I'm going to put it around the corner. Okay, hang on.
Something on this show that was really good that they pointed out the last episode that they had on last week, not tonight's. REM pods, and how something as simple as, I know, right? Something as simple as a walkie-talkie can set it off.
I saw it.
Yeah. And we already knew that. So can your cell phone. So can someone walking past you while you're investigating, talking on their cell phone, can set it off. So you have to be aware.
Yes.
You have to be aware because it's a radio signal. It's picking up a radio signal.
But where they wouldn't necessarily use a REM pod, I can agree with that. And the reason why was because they have way too many signals. They got radio signals.
Oh, yeah.
They got recording signals. They've got big camera signals. They got people running around with so much electrical stuff, it's going to make your head spin. So, of course, the REM pod is probably going to be activated multiple times. And yeah, you're right. The walkie-talkies, you set them off. But if you're just a regular everyday team and you want to use one, just be aware of everything that does and can set them off when you're in the place, and then question everything that happens. Now, that being said, okay, I was in a house one time, and I do believe this was done through a radio show one time, and they found the place, and we did the investigation, and we walked in. We were downstairs, and we had the REM pod set up, and we had Fluffy, which is basically a stuffed dog. Our co-founder, our other founder, Nikki Peterson, she owned. I don't even know if she still has Fluffy, but we owned Fluffy. And Fluffy was sitting down on the floor. The REM pod was sitting in the middle table, and it was Kai and Tara Jean from Jack FM, I believe it was at the time. And, we were sitting there and we were asking something that we knew was there to set off Fluffy. Once for yes, twice for no. And I think we had it backwards at the time. We were going twice for yes, once for no. But anyway, it was doing exactly what we were asking it to do. So we were all questioning it. And Nikki goes, can you move from Fluffy to the REM pod? Well, Fluffy stopped and the REM pod in the middle of the table started going off. She goes, okay. Can you back off? Please go back to Fluffy. Guess what happened? The REM pod shut off. Fluffy activated. And it was funny because later on, you're listening to Kai and Tara Jean talk about this. And she goes, I just couldn't imagine that. My concept of reality just shattered when that happened, And Kai looks at her without missing a beat and goes, yeah. Do you remember when your hand grabbed my crotch? Like, oh my Lord. It was so hilarious. But she was just clamped like right there, right? It was funny. But it was one of those things where you cannot say it was something that there's no way it could have been anything else. Right? Like to date, that's the one time I can go, I didn't even know what the hell that was. And it was so incredible. It was an incredible event. All right. So
occasionally it does happen, where something happens where it does make you go, okay, you know what? If I was a non-believer, I am like much more on the believer side now. Because every time I go on an investigation and like little to nothing happens, my belief level starts to go, "Hmm." And then all of a sudden I get like a disembodied voice, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm back.
Or other similar events. Or other
Yeah,
similar events.
yeah, we don't need to talk about any pickles or tickles or anything like
No,
that.
no, no. I wasn't even going to bring those up. But there is other things, and there's other events that do happen that even like for us, you do something and you think it's a great idea, and you find out later it's like that was not what we expected.
Yeah,
So there's definitely events that can and do keep us going. That one event
yeah,
alone has
oh
kept
yeah,
us like going. We got it. Two more.
yeah,
So guys, that brings us to something else we want to touch on. Now, this is
yeah.
a little more important to a lot of people. So I'm going to read a little something. What the heck did my, whoops, oh, hang on. Close. My camera just suddenly went dark. I'm going to read a little something that a friend of ours posted, and I asked them if I could use it, but I never got a response. So I'm going to read part of this post, okay? So this post reads as is. A week back, myself and some other team members had watched a TV show that had some information regarding a suspected ghost that was incorrect. After some serious research, we nailed down the facts. Some groups have gone to other locations and felt that the client and left the client scared that their home or location has dark energy, again, mostly fabricated. Another time we heard a group saying that they could see shadows in the building. That was put to rest. Some might say, so what? Well, the problem is that they make fools out of themselves when the truth gets out. It causes damage to not only the reputation, but the whole paranormal community. Clients are left scared and not sure what to blame. Now, I'm sure there's many other points that this person has left out, like clients thinking like clients thinking if they don't go if us as the investigators don't go into locations with all the toys like on TV, it's not real. So the list goes on and on and on. And this whole post led to a whole lot of people. I think you read the post, haven't you, Mike?
Yeah, I even commented on it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, it brings to bear a lot of things that over the 15 years I've been in the field, and probably over the period of time everybody's been in the field, they've experienced this, and I'll call it for what it is. It's bullshit.
yeah,
Okay. Um, it does more damage to the legitimately driven groups to find the truth and to help the clients than anybody else can do, including the events that are happening or said to be happening in a person's home.
yeah.
When they go out and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, but you have a demon in your house." I mean, there was one lady that quoted on this post
Mm.
that, and I could go back and read it. Maybe, I don't know. Should I go back and read it, Mike?
Well, you can summarize it, but I know pretty much word for word what it said.
Yeah, I don't remember. I've had a lot of things on my plate now, but it was something about a team that went in,
Yeah,
and they claimed that they had demons in their house and they were offering to cleanse them. And they were what? They were charging what? Like 2 grand or
four
something like
thousand
that?
dollars,
Two- it- it-
4 grand.
4,000.
Yeah,
Four thousand
4,000.
dollars on a payment plan with 4% interest. Excuse me. I'd rather be blind right now than have to read that again. I mean, how can anybody in any good conscience claim to be a paranormal investigator and go out and do that?
It's mind blowing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's mind blowing. It's upsetting. And I hate to say it. Do we have it happening here where we are? Yes, we do. And
Yeah,
some of the people that
it's
think they
sad.
know
It's true.
otherwise,
But
And some of the people that think they know otherwise are part of the issue. I hate to say it, but they are. No, I'm not. I would not be one to mention any names. I'm not going to.
No,
But
no,
I mean, when you don't even realize it, there's a serious issue. I mean, and there's people that have been caught outright.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I've made calls to locations to actually go back and not only say, hey, this is crap and this is what's being spewed, but forgive us as legitimate teams
yeah.
for any hassles you might experience because of this. And a lot of times I get thanked. I get thanked. I get people saying, you know what, thanks for letting us know. And they go back and they shut them down. It's happened once. You know, I think at some point in times, certain people have to be called out. I know Jason has gone through this with TAPS. And I know sometimes it looks bad for people to call other people out. But if you're doing harm in this field to other people, man, you don't deserve to be in the field. That's my 2 cents.
No, because there's people out there that have an agenda, and that agenda is to be the center of attention. They want to be the one to, I don't know, be the one to say, hey, look, ghosts are real and demons are real and whatever else is real, and I'm the one to prove it. I don't understand any of that logic, because it doesn't do anyone any good for that happening. And the thing that really bugs me the most is the teams that go around claiming whatever, like the history of a property, saying, oh, there's a dead body buried under a tree or something stupid like that, when there's absolutely zero fact to go along with that. And even 10 minutes of research would tell you that that never happened. And, it's like, don't do a Google search. Go to an actual library, go and read the history, go to the archives, go to, like, do your due diligence. It's stupid that what people will claim to be research, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And then they go to the client and say, well, this is what we caught. This is what we believe it is. We believe it's this person that actually didn't even exist. Like, it's all fabricated bullshit. Like you said, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it makes teams like ours look just as bad as they are. It just does not serve any purpose. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And a lot of times it makes it even more difficult to say, hey, maybe there is something in your home, maybe there's not, but because of what you've just gone through, you're either more scared, or you're terrified, or you're confused, and you're just like, no, I'm not going through this again, because you don't have any faith that somebody else can assist. And that's a really bad way to look at it, because there are some really good legitimate teams out there that can and do go out of their way to assist and to do all the research. I mean, okay, so we're going into see a place later on in June, and I'm not going to say where it is, but Kay went out and did literally 8 hours, almost 8 hours. She went through all the deaths from the coroner reports, all the coroner reports, for the last, I don't remember how many hundreds of years, for this area, just to track down names, and specific names at that, which she did. She found out. And we found out that one team that went in there and claimed one thing, although the names were real, what they were claiming necessarily wasn't accurate. Don't say it wasn't real, it wasn't accurate. Now we truly do know, because she spent 8 hours doing one level of research into a thing, and now she's reading a book. So, I mean, it's incredible what she did.
Yeah.
So when I told you guys before that Kay is a research hound, I mean, you want research done? yeah. Don't get her started, because she'll go straight from here right to Timbuktu and back before she stops. But it was a
research guru.
Yeah, she is. But it was an incredible find. I mean, I remember getting the message going, I found him, and I'm like, that's cool. That's so cool. Yeah. But it was, like I said, she goes, true story. but I mean, spend the time. That's why we do what we do. I know it's exciting to go in and take the cameras and take the recorders and capture the evidence. I understand that. And I
Yeah.
think it's a fabulous, great thing to do and experience. But
Mhm.
do your due diligence before you give back the information, before you confirm that something is. I mean, you may do research and not find anything to back up what you got EVP wise. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's not there. It just means that you didn't find any information for it. But at least you did your due diligence.
Yeah.
You didn't find it. But
Yeah.
what happens if you do and you do find more information about it? I mean, we
Oh,
did a
it's
case.
like Christmas.
Yeah. Well, we did. I don't know why
Yeah.
my phone keeps going dark. I don't know why. Hang on.
You're
Anyway,
not going dark on my screen. It's okay.
yeah, I know, but it goes
You're
dark on
fine.
mine. It freaks me out. Um, but the thing is that we did a thing for a client in Langley here. Not well for many years, 5 years plus. And we found out that the person they were seeing on their property, at least one of them anyway, was a guy that owned the whole big property all the way around them, plus more, from back in like the 1800s. I mean, it was
That's
just
so cool.
like, and it's one thing to find them. It's one thing to find the
Yeah.
name. And it was really cool to be able to find it and tie it all together. It was incredible. And all it took was I went down to the archives. That's all it took. And it took me literally, it took me about 2 hours of my time. And I found it. So that was actually pretty cool. I mean, so sometimes it takes you a long time, sometimes it takes you a short time, but
Yeah.
the more research you do, the more stuff you have to back up any findings that you may find down the line if you're really lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I know
So
when it comes to like Kay, she'll find a name and then she will go to find out any like family of that name. She will find out where they came from, where that family came from, where that family came from, and she goes down a rabbit hole of research that is unbelievable. But to her credit, sometimes you get an EVP and it's a name, and then she goes through her notes, and sure enough, there it is
yep,
in her notes of someone that was related or knew that person at some point in their life. And it's
that's
just like
right.
it's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
But more to the point is if you don't, I know I said, do at least 10 minutes of research. I know it takes more than just 10 minutes, but if you don't do the research to back up your investigations, you are nothing but a thrill seeker.
I mean, there's people that have big properties and big historical locations, and all they just want is you to show them evidence. And if that's what they
Yeah.
want, then go in and show them the evidence if you happen to catch any. Doesn't mean you still can't look backward to it. I mean, like some of the stuff we did, and what did Amy find? Right? The name on the plaque.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's names that we got that she found that now tie it even closer to an event that did take place. So there's that. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's not, but do it for yourself. Not like if the client is just wants to see it, if you catch
Yeah.
something, fine, show them, but
Yeah.
do it for yourself, right? As Kay said, don't claim there is something on the fourth floor when.
When it doesn't exist.
Well, okay, so this goes back to somebody else. I'm not going to point out names, but there was a location that has figurines cut out to scare other creatures away. And somebody claimed that these things were spirits or shadows or something. And I confirmed it. It had nothing to do with that. It was just cutouts that they put up there. They're to scare other birds and creatures away from getting into the building. That's all it was. Nothing more. So one person claiming something like this and actually putting it out online was even worse because it was 100% crap. And that was the sad thing about it. It was 100% crap. And, it was like nobody did their homework. Nobody even called to check. Nobody even took the time to email and check. Nobody, and I'm like, wow, it's ridiculous. I mean, claiming a floor in a location that didn't exist when it's never existed. Like, you got to go when the person goes, yeah, well, first of all, that's never existed. And second of all, that floor doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's, if you're going to post it on your Facebook page, you're not doing yourself any good. None.
No. You make yourself look like a complete moron, really. And I
Well,
don't even know who this is. Like I don't know anything about this story, but that's mind blowing that someone would post that to Facebook.
I'll tell you later.
Like,
But,
but you know,
it's
no,
one of those,
go ahead.
it's one of those things. And when I actually made an email and got a number to call, and I actually called, that I got
Yeah.
the truth from the actual site and from the person that owns it. You know,
There you go.
and you can't top that. You can't top that,
No,
right?
no, it's from the horse's mouth, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And one other thing, guys, one thing that really pisses me off, and I said that, and I'll say it again. It pees me off, is when you get these groups that go out and they get somebody that joins their group and they, hey, listen, I'm an urban explorer. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being an urban explorer. Fine, do that in places you're legally allowed to go. But if you go into places that you're not legally allowed to go and are posting pictures, your ass
Yeah.
deserves to be friggin' shot. And that's the bottom line. I shouldn't have said that. Your ass deserves to end up in jail. Okay? I take the shot mark back. But with salt gun. Make him sting a little bit. But no, but seriously, your ass deserves to be put in jail. I mean, bottom line, you do. If you're breaking into a
Yeah.
place and you're doing it because you think it's fun, oh, look at this, it's cool, I'm in here, you deserve to be caught. You deserve to be caught, you deserve to be reported, and you deserve to be prosecuted.
It's
Bottom line.
trespassing. It's trespassing. You need permission to be doing anything, any of that kind of stuff. You need permission.
Exactly.
And so what if it's an abandoned house on some, property where you can't even see? You have to go for 5 kilometers down a dirt road and you find this abandoned house. You think, oh, cool, I'm going to go inside of there. It doesn't matter that there's nobody living in it and that there's no sign saying who lives there. You enter that property, you are trespassing. Plain and simple.
Yeah. And as Kay said, that's another reason why decent groups get stopped, because they've already had trespassers and they just don't need that kind of thing anymore. And it doesn't matter whether you're reputable or not, they're just going to say no to you. And that's the part. So if you, and my big thing, if you're a paranormal group and you're posting this and supporting it, you're just as bad as the people that are doing it.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's blatant. That's absolutely blatant. So
because I know there is places around the Lower Mainland, one in particular comes to mind, that a lot of people like to trespass in and take photos of.
That's weird.
What's that?
Well, I'm just talking about all this. I'm looking and nothing's touching the plant on the table, and the whole plant just wiggled. That's freaking bizarre, man. Anyway, I got a living plant.
Oh boy. Let's
But
see.
I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, and then about doing I wanted to backtrack a tiny bit about doing not even just research about a property, but also being aware of your surroundings when you are investigating. Because some people are completely clueless about the place that they are actually investigating. They don't know what's above them, what's below them, what's in the room next to them. Like, that's part of investigating. You have to know your surroundings. I was at a place once. There was a flagpole outside on the roof of the building. And every time the wind blew, it made a knocking sound. And sure enough, someone went, "Do you hear that? There's a knock. There's another knock. There's another knock." And I said, "You do realize there's a flagpole right there, right?" Well, be aware of your surroundings, people.
Is this the same flagpole that went ting ting,
ting
ting ting ting ting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yes, I know that flagpole. Oh my Lord. No, that is absolutely true. Know your surroundings, folks. I mean, and this is why, I mean, it's honestly really good to know your team and know them well and know what what they do, even for a living. Because I
Yeah.
mean, if you have somebody in construction, like we have a member that's a locksmith,
Mhm.
um, he can debunk a lot of things to do with doors opening, closing by themselves, things turning, handles wiggling. There's so many things that you can do to debunk that and to test it that I didn't have any clue about. Right. So
Yeah.
there goes my phone again. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I've got my phone set to go sleep mode really quick. I don't know. But folks, yeah, do your due diligence when you're out there. Look at all aspects of what you do. Be aware of where you place your equipment. Be aware that you want to be able to read it without going, oh yeah, you know,
Is this thing
that
on?
kind of, yeah, exactly, and all the rest of that stuff. And you know what? If you as a team get fed up with hearing stuff out there, you know there's stuff that's bull, you see it online, you know what? It doesn't do you any harm just to say, hey, you know what? This is not correct. You don't have to be mad about it or mean about it. You can say, you know what? I'm sorry, but this is false information. I
Yeah.
mean, do some research, check it out, but this is false information. If you have to even say, hey, here's a link, you can check it out yourself. This is false information. I wouldn't suggest you keep producing this. But sometimes you have no choice and you just have to laugh it off and go off on your way because they ain't going to listen to you anyway. So,
But on the flip side, you know what one of the best feelings in the world is? Doing the research and providing that research to the client that they had no idea about.
and that is
That is
going to
pretty cool.
happen later on in this year. I can tell you that right now.
Yes.
And that you're right. That's an incredible feeling too. I mean,
Yes.
when you can give back to people and they go, "What?" Like it's yeah, they just shake their head and they go, "Oh my lord, I can't believe that you guys found that."
It's almost as
And
good as a Class A EVP.
it's better, I think, in some ways. Yes, it's all well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably is better. Yes.
I don't know. You're right. It's a
It's a
pretty close tie there. It's a pretty close tie. You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, folks, listen. I said, we got only like less than about a minute left, if that. And we've jumped a little bit back and forth, but hopefully we pass along some good information, some good messages to you all, and to everybody that listens to this later on. And yeah, you start looking at the whole concept of what you're doing in a little different light and being open to all these possibilities and changes. What do you think,
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. Basically, to summarize it all, make sure you use your balls.
Exactly. God, I thought we weren't going to go there. All right, guys. Well, listen, we're at the end of our show in about 30 seconds. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight. We've actually had 8 viewers on here. It's been fabulous to see that many people viewing us tonight. Hopefully we did we gave some things out and everything like that. And from both of us really, and the entire MPI team, in fact, the X team, you know what, Kay, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're fabulous and you're getting stuff that just blows our minds. So keep up the good work, girl. Anyway, there you go. Ciao for now, people. Have a good one. And thanks for joining us on Off the Cuff Paranormal. Off the Cuff Paranormal. Thanks for myself, Daryl. And
Me, Mike.
have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.